All right, all right, all right. Well, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel, but I am not tired even a little bit, so I think we should just get it in real quick. Let's talk about it. If the Packers had lost, I'll be honest, almost no chance I'd be doing this right now, but they won and they won handily, and despite Mr. Negative continually pumping me full of messages about how much this team sucks and how much they're going to lose, come on, let's bet. They're going to get smoked by the 49ers, et cetera, et cetera. I don't care because I'm feeling good. I'm feeling very happy. My pick won, so my streak is doing well. So many messages that I'm just going to have to ignore right now. But I do want to give a very special shout out to Mr. Peter Thomas. He was on here earlier. Hopefully he is here today. He also pushed me over the edge. He sent a little donation on Venmo, and by little I mean $50. And kind of hinted at, hey, how about we do a little post-game stream? And I'm like, all right, that's it. That's going to push us over the edge. We're doing this. I tell you what, man, when this game started, I said, well, even the announcer said, there is no more get right. It's a dogfight, and you just got to pull out a win. And I'm thinking, this kind of stinks, and obviously this isn't going to be very good, but if we can just squeak out a win, that'd be great. But there's no way that we end this game, and I'm thinking, that was kind of a blow. 35-17, dude. And I remember doing this a bunch of times last year where the game, certain things didn't feel good, and a lot of people are mad, and I just would do the podcast, and I'd be like, dude, look at the score. What are you mad about? I'm not saying things were perfect. Things are not great. But if you win 35-17, dude, that's a good game. Let's look at the other scores. Washington won by 1. New England won 25-6. That's almost the exact same score. We scored 10 more points and gave up 11 more. That's almost identical to what the Patriots did to the Jets. Buffalo is 35-0. Obviously, that's massive blowout. The 49ers, by the way, they barely beat Philadelphia. They beat them by 6, and Detroit scored more points on them than what they scored against us. So I get the hesitation where it's like, I don't know if San Francisco is going to be tough for sure. But there's not a lot you can look at to be like, dude, San Francisco is so good, we're in trouble. LA beat Indy by 3. Indy didn't even have a quarterback. Who else is a super dominant team here? Arizona won by 1. Tampa won by 20 because it's freaking Tampa. Tennessee won by 3. Seattle lost. This is one of the. Kansas City lost and Baltimore won by 1. It's one of the more convincing wins of the week. I guess all I'm saying is just be happy. This is a win, and it's a big win, and it's a convincing win, offensively and defensively. That's the thing. It's not like we won 45-30, and it's like, yeah, but the defense gave up 30. 35 points is great for an offense. 17 points is great for a defense. It just is. I thought the Bears' defense did really well, and I said so on the podcast. Cincinnati scored 17. So, not a lot of teams scored less than 17. That's a good defensive performance. Get over to the stats and the comments in a little bit, but I think the most exciting thing about this is there were different moments at different times in the game where you could just feel things turning over, right? Right away, the offense kind of had more rhythm, which was nice. The run game was kind of going, but I thought Aaron Rodgers was terrible. The defense was terrible, and it's like, well, this is problematic. Once he hit that Devonte pass, and I didn't really buy into it because he had a big Devonte pass last year too, but once he hit that Devonte pass, something just snapped in his brain. And it felt like old Aaron Rodgers was back. Now, he did miss MVS twice today, and once was after that. And he was super mad at himself. But you just felt something different. Right after that, he hit Tunyon. That was an absolute strike. And it's like, all right, I think Aaron Rodgers is back. Then the defense starts coming out. They're fired up. The pressure's starting to get there, even without bringing extra guys. Rashawn's starting to get there. Kenny's starting to get there. And by the way, about every single one of those plays was a hold. Every single time, our guys are just getting choked around their necks with somebody's arm right around their throat. No flags. I was losing my mind because these should have been a ton of sacks, but we got tons of pressure. Pressure was effective. I thought Devondre Campbell looked fantastic, not just from that interception, but he was all over the field. He was covering everybody. He was tackling everybody. By the way, I got to do a better job of thanking people right away. Brambo, thank you very much for the super chat. He says 17 points allowed. It felt like more, but I'll take it. Go Pack, go. And that's kind of my point. It felt bad, but when you just look at it, fantastic. Aaron, thanks for following. James, thanks for liking the stream. And Alex, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says defense got stingy after the half. And that's sort of the other point, and that's a good point. And here's the other way to look at it. They gave up 17 points, and it was ugly. If you want to be mad at them for that, that's fine. But you got to be equally impressed with the fact that they gave up this much. Right here, camera's over here. You're over there, but the camera's over here. This much in the second half, right? Right there. So if you want to be mad at 17 points in the half, that's fine. But goose egg in the second half, I mean, start to show some gratitude there. Stokes, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And I think I even said on the stream, they wanted, somebody had mentioned we should put Jair in the slot. And I'm like, I don't think they're going to do that. Apparently, they're going to give it a shot. You kind of go with that best 11 out there, which, granted, I don't know if my best 11 would have Kevin King. But aside from a couple miscues, I thought Kevin kind of stepped up. Stokes was fantastic. Jair was fantastic. There were some boneheaded things in there that you wish didn't happen. But again, if you just go through these scores, as much as it's hard to comprehend, everybody but Miami scored points, right? Everybody did. Philadelphia scored 11 points. At some point in that game, Philadelphia with a terrible offense, the San Francisco fans and the San Francisco defense, as much as they think that's a great defense, at some point, Philadelphia maintained and sustained a drive all the way down the field and put in 7 points, right? That happened at some point, I think. I don't know how they got to 11. Maybe it was a couple field goals and a safety. I don't know. The point is, actually, it probably was 3 field goals and a safety. Philadelphia is a bad example. But point is, all these guys are the LA Rams. How about this? LA Rams, #1 defense in football. For the time being, you're an LA Rams fan. You have the #1 defense in football. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, that crew, best in football. 24 points means 3 touchdowns. 3 times they sustained drives all the way down the field and scored touchdowns. How would you react in that situation? This defense is trash, right? Point is, that stuff happens. It just happens. You can't expect 0 points. I said that to Mr. Negative as well. He was flipping out about 17 points at the end of the game, and I said, 17 is too much for you? And he said, yeah, look who they're playing. It's like, look, man, in today's NFL, 17 points is not bad. It just isn't. And again, how many did Detroit put up against San Francisco in Week 1? Let me see if I can get that quickly. Week 1 NFL. Where are they at? Lions scored 33 points against the 49ers last week. It happens. I know it was garbage time, but Lions had garbage time in this game. What did we give up in garbage time? Nothing. So I'm just saying, let's celebrate. A little sip of cold coffee. All right, where are we at? Did I say thank you to? I think I did already. Peter's in the house. Thank you Peter Thomas, the man you can thank for this stream happening right now. Justin, thank you for liking the stream. Jason, thank you for liking. Robert, Andrew, and Brandon, thank you all very much for liking the stream. We're killing it with the viewers. Let's head over to the comments real quick because I want to get to some statistics, but let's see what we're all talking about. Jacob says, still fire Barry. Which, at some point, somebody had made a comment. I don't know if it was to me or what. I think it was, but it was on YouTube here. I wanted to respond, but YouTube doesn't make it easy. They made a point that we should have one of our coordinators, like Gray, take over. And I don't think that that's a terrible... thank you, Scott and Mikey, by the way, for liking the stream. I don't think that's a terrible thought. My whole issue with the Joe Barry thing is you can't just fire a defensive coordinator, pick a guy off the street and say, okay, implement your scheme and let's go. You can't do it. It's not going to work. But you can promote from within. I know this is a weird conversation right now because, again, they did a good job. But this was my thought at the time. But the point is, at this point, all right, so Rodgers took a while. He took about what? What are we going to say it took? About 6 quarters for him to just kind of get it. It took about 6 quarters for this defense. Now, I know it's the Lions, it's Goff, it's terrible wide receivers, it's all that, fine. But still, something clicked. Something is better than it was. Thank you, Billy and Garrett, for liking the stream. Clearly better than it was. So all I'm saying is let's just see. And they're still just trying to figure it out. But as long as they at least get to the point where they're starting to get into a groove, and just the fact that there's confidence in it matters as well. Having sort of that, okay, this is working kind of feel, it's a good feeling. And Eric Stokes is kind of getting his footing, and that those DBs are out there high-fiving, and the pass rush was starting to get home again. They finally started bringing extra pressure, which was obviously helpful and infuriating that it took this long to do it. But even after they backed that down, you start seeing Rashawn Gary start to get hungry. And even though he didn't actually get to the quarterback all that often, it was almost every single play. He took that tackle, grabbed him by the throat, and just pushed him right into Goff. That's the Rashawn that we need to see more of. I forgot these comments get cut off after a while, so if I don't mention yours, just throw it in there again. Justin says, offense seems to get moving this evening, a spark from the defense in the second half. Interesting to see how we match up with San Francisco. Yeah, I mean, that's the point, though. They caught their stride. Okay, so now we're kind of this to me is a reset. If you're not there, fine. You don't have to be there. Thank you, Dan, Paula, and Jeff for liking the stream. If you don't want to share that with me and this is still a bad game or it doesn't teach you anything, that's fine. I don't care. You're where you're at. I'm where I'm at. But now that we're back on track, it's still San Francisco. You know what I mean? That's still a tough matchup. So, I mean, we'll get to that point when we get to that point. Right now, though, it's just Victory Monday. That's all it is Victory Monday. So I'm just celebrating, and we'll worry about that when the time comes. Defense needs to continue to blitz. Rushing 4 isn't getting the job done, says Scott. I tend to agree. I mean, again, it started to pick up and work toward the end, but it shouldn't take you an entire half of failed 4- and 3-man rushes to say, let's bring an extra guy. And the second they did it is when the defense started to change. And even I remember the announcers even started calling it out, and it was the very next play. The announcers are like, this 4-man rush isn't working. We blitz somebody off the edge, a corner or a safety or a linebacker, whatever he was. He almost gets home, pass incomplete. And it's like, this is what we've all been saying. This is what I said last week when we were talking about the Saints. This is what the announcers are now saying. This is what every one of you is saying. We got to bring additional pressure if it's not getting home. They finally did it, and shocker of the century, the quarterback doesn't do as well when pressure's in his face compared to when he has 5 seconds to throw. Who knew? Connor says Stokes time. You're right, it is Stokes time. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean Kevin King is coming off the field. But, again, if it works, it works. We'll see. We'll see. Crystal says, really good game. Absolutely. Daniel says, great game for Stokes. He was fantastic. He had several pass breakups. I mean, if you get a pass breakup in a game, that's kind of a big deal. You know what I mean? I mean, that's not a minor achievement. I don't know if Jair had one. I don't think Kevin King had one. If you end the season with like 8 or 9, you had a bunch. He had one last week, and he only played 8 snaps. He had, 2 or 3? So he's already at like 4. He's got to be. Let me look real quick at who the leader through 2 weeks is. I mean, Stokes isn't going to be on this list because his stats haven't updated yet. But I'm just curious from PFF's standpoint, looking at let's just do defensive grades for corners, pass breakups. Right now, 3 guys have 3 pass breakups. I'm pretty sure Stokes is number 1 in the NFL right now through 2 weeks with pass breakups. If I'm not mistaken, am I wrong? Did he have 3? I'm pretty sure he had 3 today. Either way, he's tied with Byron Jones in Miami, William Jackson in Washington, and Teron Johnson in Buffalo. That ain't a bad start. And again, he technically played 2 games, but it's kind of been 1. Fantastic start. Jones was a great signing. Clearly, he was. And I love Dylan. But at this particular point in time, he's still just kind of a guy. Although there are going to be games, and this is what I talked about before, you kind of just run with the hot hand. Sometimes Dylan is that hot hand. Today, though, if we didn't have Aaron Jones, I don't think our run game would have been very successful. I love Dylan. I thought he had some great runs. Some of those, I mean, every time he runs, it looks like it should be a loss of 3. The defense must just completely sell out and destroy our offensive line. And somehow he turns these negative 3-yard runs into 7-yard carries sometimes. But it clearly wouldn't have been as effective. Aaron Jones was having a great day, and it's nice to be able to have those 2 guys so that when Aaron's having a great day, you just ride that hot hand. I just hope that when Dylan is that guy next time, we're kind of like, all right, let's just ride that out. But again, having that tandem is fantastic. And then toward the end, I mean, we had him there to spell, which is nice, but we also have him at the end to just grind this defense into dust, and I absolutely love that. Stokes blew coverage on Cephas touchdown. Maybe. I don't know that for sure because the question is, who is supposed to carry over? Do you switch or do you follow? My buddy I was talking to mentioned that, well, Stokes is the one that turned around and ran and said, oh, no. But he also, so he turned to follow that guy. He saw Kevin King was running that way, and he's like, okay. And then he turned around, and he was upset with Kevin King. Maybe it was Stokes that blew it. I don't know for sure. It would make sense that it is, but you do one of two things. Either when they switch, you stay in your area, or you're following all the way through. They had different ideas of what they were supposed to do. Jason with the $5 super chat, thank you very much. He says, Ryan, thanks for keeping us grounded when we get silly. This was a win, but the Lions are depleted. Defensive MVP was Rain and Goff's slick fingers. Fair, but it's a little unfair. Again, 0 points. It wasn't 0 points because of slipped fingers. It just wasn't. The Lions are depleted. And listen, if this was any team but Detroit, yeah, you're right. It's probably not 35-17. You're probably not going to beat any of these guys 35-17. All I'm saying is 35-17 is what you want from Packers-Lions. And by the way, we almost never get this. Usually, even when the Packers are at their best, it's like a 35-28 game. So when you come off a game in which the Packers are just terrible, the offense can't do anything, the defense can't do anything, it doesn't make sense to say the defense still sucks, but they lucked into 17 points. That's not fair. So I get what you're saying, and there's no question about anything that you're saying, but also just give them the kudos. You know what I mean? A lot of games, certain things just, the ball bounces in your direction, and it is what it is. And that goes both ways. But, if it was 35-33 and there was that slip, then you look at it and say, well, they don't deserve any credit. They should have lost. Well, that's fair, but this was a big win. It really was. And again, the other thing that's really exciting about it, even if it's fake, even if you look at it and go, yeah, they didn't earn any of that. Okay, fine. I don't agree, but that's fine. The point is something clicked. Something started to make sense. The pressure started to get home. The coverage started to tighten. The receivers started to separate. The scheme started to come together. The run game started working. Aaron Rodgers finally started hitting his guys. He started being more decisive and throwing more accurate passes. Regardless of how you feel about every single detail of this thing, the fact of the matter is you felt it click, and everybody felt something click. Now, are they going to go in and play the Steelers and the 49ers and dominate, or are they going to go out and lose? I don't know. Again, I'm not worried about that today. All I'm saying is this felt good. That's it. I fully acknowledge some of that stuff was silly. Oh, well, it was raining on the Packers too. They can hold on to the ball. That's what good teams do. I mean, there's a reason good teams are good and bad teams are bad, right? Sometimes making less mistakes is part of that. It's also part of the game. Okay, where are we at? Stokes looked good after that first drive, and King looked like King. Yeah, I mean, the whole defense looked bad at first and then got better in the second half. So, yeah, agreed. Jason says, Lions gonna lion, that's for sure. Goose says, my major complaint, run D was bad. Not enough pressure or containment. Wanted to see Dylan on some of those series when we punted. Positive, Stokes, Adams, Rodgers, Tunyon, and Jones. Jones all in caps for very good reason. The cool thing about Jones, because I already commented on some of those things, Goose, so I'll just let that ride, is he's more than probably anybody a guy that you want to root for. I mean, if Devonte had 4 touchdowns, I'd be stoked, but it'd be more like he's the man. For Aaron Jones, it's like you just want to give that guy a hug, you know what I mean? Like you're just happy for him as a human being to be able to do that. So I'm just glad he's doing it. I'm glad that he's earning that paycheck, because the last thing you want, especially for a guy like that who's always one of those first guy on the field, last guy off the field, putting in the work. He's not going to be out there doing, well, sometimes he does dumb stuff. He got in trouble with it one time, but point is his heart is in it, and he's just such a good human being, and after everything he's been through, you just root for him. So I'm glad that everything's working out, because you don't want this to be a situation where people start saying we shouldn't have paid him. And that may still come, but so far, so good. Stokes needs to start next week. The touchdown he gave up was bad, but it was mental mistake rookies make. His physical ability is miles beyond King. And that's the other, even if that was his mistake, that's a simple thing. You know what I mean? Everything else, though, and in a really weird and twisted way, and maybe this is just me being a stupid fan, fine, it's almost a good thing, because he didn't get beat. We didn't see him get beat once. We saw 2 miscommunications. We saw him making, if it was even his fault, Quentin, thank you very much for liking the stream. If it even was his fault, he never got beat. He just made a mental error. And that's part of the game too, but it's a different kind of thing. If you're a young guy and you're in there and you're winning most of the time, but then there were a couple times where you didn't quite understand what was going on and you made a mistake, but every time that you were locked in and it was just man to man and it was just he's trying to beat you and you're trying to beat him and he never beats you, that's a good thing, right? With Kevin King, if he has mental mistakes, it's more frustrating because he's been doing this too long to be making those mistakes. But the even more frustrating thing is, especially on, it's just a simple go route. It's like, dude, the one thing you do is that you're really tall and you're really fast. And you're getting beat down the field by scrubs, essentially. That should never happen. And I'm not trying to dump on Kevin King. Again, everybody tightened up in the second half. I'll give him credit for whatever happened in the second half. Seemingly it got better, but again, that is kind of a weird positive. Goff must have dumped acid on his fingertips, says Jason Miller. Guy has zero grip on the ball in the rain. Yeah, that's possible, I guess. I don't know. Goose says, yeah, not going to agree on King. His missteps are really bad. Yeah. 43 yards was it? Question mark. What are we talking about? I don't know what we're talking about. King was still hot trash. Needs to be Stokes from now on with King in the slot. I don't think King's ever going to go in the slot. I think if King plays, Jair's in the slot. Otherwise, we're bringing Chandon in the slot, and it's going to be Stokes and Jair. I think. I don't know. I said Jair probably wouldn't go in the slot either. But here's the ultimate good thing, though. They realized Stokes has to be out there. And then they said, okay, well, we've got, again, like I said, there's two options if Stokes plays. We put Jair in the slot and King in the boundary, or Chandon in the slot and Jair on the boundary. I think those are the combinations. And so far it's worked. And now I know King was in the slot at one point. Maybe it was in the preseason or something. They tried it out, but there's just no way. I mean, he's so bad with any kind of lateral movement, and that's all the slot is. It's a guy puts his foot in the ground and starts running sideways. And granted, he's got enough speed to hopefully carry that across and run with him. But, I mean, that first step, he's just going to get killed. I think he's going to get annihilated in the slot. King continually makes mental and physical mistakes, says Speaks McGee. Stokes is already better than King. I can't really argue with that, to be honest. And this is what, this is what everybody's been saying. Just put him out there. Worst case scenario, he's bad, just like King is. But the thing is, he's never been bad. He's had a couple mental errors. But he's also had, I mean, today may have been a better game than we've seen from King in a long time. I mean, 2019, again, King had a bunch of picks, but on a game-to-game, play-to-play basis, it's still just kind of eh. But, I mean, this was, I don't want to get crazy saying it was like a Jair kind of game, but we haven't really had a guy do that well just locking guys down and staying in their pocket and actually getting your hand on the ball and swatting it away. I don't know of too many guys that we've had on this team that have done that other than Jair in a very long time. Again, not calling him Jair, I'm just saying it's different. So if you're saying he's better than King, probably still got a ways to go to establish that, but you got a pretty strong foundation to stand on at this point. Coffee. Lupe also wants King inside. Again, I don't think it'll work, but we'll see. Maybe they try it. The game announcers are pretty JV. I don't know. Anytime I don't hear what's his name, I really just don't care. There were a couple things that annoyed me, but I don't know. I pretty much tuned them out. The whole game, I was so stressed, I wasn't even hardly listening. Robert says he loved the game, as did I. Andy says the Stokes effort at the end on the second pass breakup reminded me of Jair tackling Jimmy Graham at the end of the Bears. That's true. That's the other thing. Some of those tackles were on point. I mean, we saw a couple guys. I don't even know who it was, but there was somebody, I think his number was 39, safety of some sort. I don't know. He's somebody that came in. But he was just pathetic in some of the tackling. And it's like, if you're a safety, you got to be able to come up and lay the hit stick on some of these guys. But no, man, Stokes is, I mean, he uses that speed. He uses it in coverage, and then when he needs to, he comes up and makes plays in run defense and tackling and everything else. I'm a big fan. I mean, it's too early to know exactly what he's going to be, but to start off this early, especially on a defense that just isn't working, it's not making sense. The scheme is just weird, and nothing's coming together to be one of the true bright spots on this team this early is incredibly promising. Garrett says, the only thing I'm excited about that I take from this game is Hill's return potential. Come on now. My expectations are that the offense should be good. The defense has a long way to go. Well, see, how can you have expectations the offense is good, but that's the only thing you're not excited about the offense being good? I don't know. I guess you don't have to be. No, but that was pretty solid. He had 2 good returns. One of them did come back on holding, but basically, I don't know if those are his only 2, but yeah, I mean, we haven't seen that in a long time, and for him to do it back-to-back means it probably wasn't fluky. And it's hard to even call something like that fluky because for the most part, we have guys that can never do it, like not even accidentally do it. Amari has been absolutely terrible. As I saw somebody point out on Twitter, he had 10 yards of green grass in front of him and somehow gained 0 yards because he just ran sideways. At some point, you just got to go forward and take what's there, and if you get nothing else, who cares? I mean, get something, for crying out loud. But no, that is exciting, and that field position is such a massive thing, and special teams is really critically important as much as we generally don't care as much. If we can have that as a return guy, and that was the other thing that just kind of, again, just sort of clicked. You know, it's not just him, but some of the blocking, some of the tackling, although I think the Lions' next return after that was pretty bad, but the excitement and the energy on the sideline of these guys getting kind of fired up, it just felt like something's starting to turn a corner, and it needs to because we're kind of coming up against a buzzsaw here in our schedule with the Steelers. I mean, again, the Steelers' offense is pretty putrid, but that defense is about as good as it gets, and the 49ers are a pretty scary team regardless. Goose says, I wanted to hear the Manning cast. I really didn't. I don't know. I'm not super into it. It would be kind of nice just to be able to hear the perspective of what's going on in his head, and if I can go back and find that somewhere, I'll try to listen just for the sake of that level of entertainment, but they're just so disinterested. I'm not going to be able to put up with that. It's like people having a separate conversation about what they had for lunch while the Packers are in a critical third down situation, and it's like I'm gonna smack them. I'm just gonna smack them because this is gonna drive me crazy. Like I need you to be invested in this game. Speaking of critical third downs, how about Randall Cobb coming up in the clutch on a couple third downs? That was beautiful, wasn't it? And those are the kinds of things we're thinking. You know, if nothing else, give you those goal line and third down scramble drills when nothing seems to be there to convert those big plays, and that's exactly what he did in this game. That was pretty much all he did, but I don't care. If he just wants to come back and be Geronimo Allison to convert a couple third downs, that's fine with me. Announcers couldn't get Tunyon's name right. I didn't notice, but yeah, maybe it was Tunyon. There was somebody else they said the name, and I was like, it wasn't even a complicated one either. Oh, it was Rashawn Gary. I think they called him Rayshawn or something. I'm like, come on, man. I mean, I don't know names too good, but Rayshawn? Has he ever been called Rayshawn? It seems kind of weird. I don't know. What do I know? Agreed Fireberry yesterday, says Goose. So Goose and you guys are in the Discord chat together, just yucking it up. So you guys have come to that conclusion. Send Pet and flowers and ask for him back, says Lupe. You guys are mad. All right. I guess we're not in agreement that the defense turned a corner and actually kind of looked good in the second half. I know it was bad in the first half, but 2 quarters with 0 points. I was on board with you for a while, but I'm willing to at least hear him out at this point, I guess is all I'm saying. Did Barry make adjustments or did the Lions just lion? Well, again, there was more pressure. The coverage was better. We had a pick. We had, tackling. And they had to do something, and that's the other thing. It's, how bad the defense is. You know how bad they were against the Saints. You know how bad they were in the first 2 quarters. If they continued that, don't you think the Lions would have gotten some first downs and some scores? Of course they would have, because of how bad they were. The fact that they weren't means something changed. And I don't know if it was adjustments or the defense just doing things. And I think it was probably a little bit of both. Peter says, jumping into the questions, is MVS hesitant on both of those seemingly overthrown passes, or did 12 miss on both times? I don't know. I didn't see him slowing up, and I don't know why he would. His only job is to hit the gas full speed. I think Rodgers just kept missing him, which is annoying because, again, Rodgers kind of hit his stride, but it seemed like he was getting better and on point with that. And now we're, again, still in like 2019 Aaron Rodgers where he could not, for the life of him, throw to MVS. It was like a career move overthrowing MVS in 2019. Kind of got a little better in 2020, but, MVS doesn't super get open. But he had he had 2 touchdowns to MVS. He missed them both. So not that it matters in the full context of this, but it could have been 42-17 instead. Again, no, not that big of a deal, but Would have been kind of nice. Brent Lewis, thank you very much for subscribing, man. I appreciate that. If you guys want to subscribe on the YouTubes, I wouldn't be super mad at you. Let's see. Lupe says, Lion for sure. Fumbled twice with no one touching him. Yep, he did do that. Pass rush improved with Stokes on the field more. It's an interesting theory, I guess. Go Pack Go, AR12, MVP, baby, Super Bowl. See, JB's my guy. That's what I'm looking for right now. I'm not, listen, as the week goes on, we'll start to calm down a little bit. But can we just get excited about 35-17? If I told this, and again, this is what I said after every game last year where people were mad about basically blowout wins. If I told you before the game it was going to be 35-17, every single person would be super jacked and be like, heck yeah, man. You get 35-17, but you're mad because of the 17 and how they got it. They got to get 17 somehow. How do you get 17 with a great defense? You don't. They have to get a bunch of first downs. They have to be able to get touchdowns. That's how you get to 17 points. I don't know. Give it a day. Be happy for a day. We've been so mad. No football this whole time. One of the worst football games we've seen in forever last week. Give yourself a day to be happy. One day, please. JB, thank you. A little over the top, but I'll take it at this point. Daniel says the guy in Barry's system just looked a little lost and confused in the first half, but it was flying in the second half. Oh, the guys in Barry's system. That's how it felt. And, I don't generally like to give excuses, especially considering how bad they played. Again, some of these guys, these new defensive coordinators, they come out and they do fine right out of the gate. It's just, it works. So I'll give you a little bit of leeway, but to play that badly week one and then to come out flat in week two, at some point it's like, all right, maybe it's time to move on already because this is really, really, really bad. But what is my wife sending me? That's so right. It's something from The Office. I really want to watch it now, but I'm doing a stream. I just clicked on it to make sure it wasn't something super important, and I see something from The Office. What were you saying? Oh, yeah. So distracted with The Office. But again, it's 2 quarters of good defense, and it was the Lions lioning, and it was the crowd was getting loud, and the Lions were depressed, and all the excuses fine. I'm going to hear him out. You do what you want to do. Write letters and say we should fire him. I'm going to hear the guy out. That's all I'm saying. 49ers just most legit. All their running backs feeling a lot better now. Just most legit. Is that a rap group? Most legit? Too legit to quit? I don't know. Stokes had 2 tonight. Dang it. 2 tonight, 1 last week means 3, so he's only tied for 3. I'm way behind. Had the 4th down one, the end zone one, and the one over the right side of the field. Okay, so now there's an argument. Matt says he had 2. Blaine says he had 3. So it is what it is. Sorry I'm so far behind. I didn't realize I was that far behind in the comments. We're just getting to the part where we talk about how many pass breakups there were. Drinking too much coffee. We don't win without Jones. Yeah, so what, dude? So what? We don't win without Jones. We don't win without Rodgers. We wouldn't have won maybe without Stokes. We wouldn't have won. So what? And, again, go through the list. Well, got to pick a game that actually makes sense. The Rams wouldn't have won without Aaron Donald. Okay. So we have Jones, though. So what? I don't know. Maybe you're not being negative, but it just felt negative and unnecessary. Matt says, my bad, he had 3. Matt says, you're right. All right, good. So if that's correct, and PFF concurs, Eric Stokes, 8 snaps in week 1, leading the NFL in pass breakups. Not a bad start for the rookie. All right, kind of getting behind on some of these. It's Detroit. San Fran will score 60 on that. Oh, come on, Michael. Come on, man. Joe Barry needs to go. I know. I get it. All right. 12 says, geez, Michael. And again, you gotta, Michael, I get it, man. This is why I said you and Mr. Negative are the same guy. His name is not Michael, but I'm still halfway convinced you're the same guy. I have been getting that exact message. San Fran's going to score 60 on us the entire Packer game. When things are bad, he's piling on that they're bad. When things are good, he will not stop just talking about how bad everything is. and then I come on here and Michael takes over. So I got Mr. Negative on my phone during the game, put away the phone, come on here, and Michael takes over and just talks about how horrible everything is. It's kind of crazy. JB says, good game. We needed that win. AR12, he's still jacked up. Keep it coming. Robert, smash that like button, folks. Oh, yeah, by the way, hit the like button. That would be fantastic if you wouldn't mind. Subscribe if you're on YouTube and you haven't done so yet. And if you're on Facebook, follow the page, and that would be also fantastic. Or just hang out, and we'll just talk about some stuff. Goose says, I really want to stay up and chat more, but it's nearly 1 a.m. here. Best things about tonight, victory Monday, and no injuries. I hear you, man. Have a good night. I'm sure you're already passed out, but it is what it is. Jared, offense put the pressure on the Lions, which gave the defense opportunities. Our D is way different when the offense put pressure on the other team. I'll take it. Rodgers needs to still stop staring down Adams and missing MVS. Both of those are true. Had MVS several times wide open for touchdowns. Blaine says, what you think about the middle linebacker enter? I loved it, man. I thought Devondre Campbell might have been the star of the game outside of Stokes. I know I haven't been high on the linebackers. I'm sure that's where the comment's coming from, but yeah, I mean, he was phenomenal in this game. George, Murillo, and Mitchell, thank you for liking the stream. He was great. I mean, he was all over the place. I didn't see him do, I mean, of course, there's a couple times where it's like, I wish you would have been on him a little tighter. I wish he would have tackled him a little bit further, but there was no, like, what we're used to with linebackers where it's like, that was a garbage tackle, and you completely blew that assignment. And I mean, he was there. He was everywhere. Again, you wish maybe you got tackled after a 2-yard gain instead of a 7-yard gain, but he was the one everywhere. He was the one making the tackles. He was the one there in coverage. He was the one stopping guys short. I thought he did a good job tackling, and of course, he had a great pick in that game. Tony, thank you very much for the like. So I love it, and the Alicia, thank you for liking the stream, my darling wife. Ed, Tony, thank you very much for all liking the stream. They come in bunches, so that's how it goes. Super excited, and we got oh my goodness, the comments. Anyways, so yeah, we got a linebacker coach as a defensive coordinator, so it's nice to see that there seems to be some kind of an effect. Maybe it's a coincidence, but I'll take any coincidence I can get at this point. Jacob says he's from SoCal Packerback Crew. I don't know who we're talking about because I'm way behind. All right, let's get to a comment that makes sense here. Run defense was good this game. We've all been complaining about that. Let's I'm way behind, but let's look at a couple stats, I guess. What did they do with running the ball? DeAndre Swift, 8 carries, 37 yards. Jamal, 7 carries, 25 yards. So 4.6 average is pretty solid for DeAndre Swift, but again, 37 yards is nothing. Jamal, only 25 yards. That isn't much. I mean, again, we can be upset about it, but it didn't work all that well. I don't know. I mean, again, how mad can you be? They didn't have any big 20, 30-yard runs, so what? That's all I really care about is that they're not gashing us. And yeah, again, Lions don't run the ball well. I know. What I mean, I don't know. What's the point in watching if we do everything right and we're still mad about it because but the Lions are bad at it? At some point, you got to look at it and say, "Hey, sweet, they did it." Right? I don't know what else to say about it. Let's see. Blaine says punter had one lame punt, but the others crushed a couple of. I thought his punting was fantastic. I know exactly which one you're talking about that didn't exactly do well, but it's not only that he crushed some, but those things were landing like just right at the 5, just like dunk. Like he is. I'm liking it so far. Peyton Manning swore on air because of one of his punts. That's kind of crazy, but that is the one thing that's funny about the whole Peyton Manning thing. And again, it's partly why I don't want to watch it because he just doesn't really care about the game at all. He just doesn't care. It's kind of endearing because he's so ridiculously rich, and obviously the television stations begged him and pleaded with him and did everything so he knows this is a job I'll never get fired from. Like, I can do whatever I want, nobody cares. I could take my shirt off and rub baby oil on my chest and mustard on, my belly button, and they literally would not even cut away to commercial. They'd be like, all right, this is what we're doing. We're rolling with this, folks, because he's Peyton Manning and he can do literally whatever he wants. Robert says, do the highlights. Should we do some highlights? I'm so far behind in the comments, but all right, I'm going to do some stats because I want to see it for myself here as well. So Jared Goff was 26 of 36 for 246 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Sounds like a very Jared Goff kind of a game. I already did the running backs. Nothing super fantastic. TJ Hawkinson, we knew would be the big guy coming in. 8 receptions is a lot of receptions, but 66 yards and a touchdown, Quintez Cephas, 63 yards and a touchdown is a little disappointing, but that was, again, he got those bunches early when we were just completely out of our mind. DeAndre, 4 receptions, 41 yards. Again, there's a couple in there where it's like, man, he kind of sneaks out and does some stuff. But, again, when you isolate it out, DeAndre Swift is a talented weapon out of the backfield, and you worry about, well, with our linebackers and everything, he's going to tear us up 41 yards. So what? Trinity Benson, 24, Khalif 18, 12, and 4 is what they had. Jared Goff, 2 fumbles, lost 1. Melfonwu had 1 pass deflection. Defensively, they had Nick Williams had a half a sack, Michael Brockers had a sack, Trey Flowers had a half a sack, Charles Harris had a sack. All right, who cares about that? Let's get over to the Packers now. Aaron Rodgers was 22 of 27, 255, and 4 touchdowns. Obviously, 255, not a massive amount of yards. A lot of those were pretty short passes, but that's the other thing to keep in mind. The Lions tried to do what the Saints did, right? They're playing pass and they're daring us to run, and that's what we did. And when we didn't run, we threw it underneath and just kind of picked them apart shallow, which is not what the Packers want to do, and you can just feel that tension, right? Aaron Rodgers is in there going, I want to throw for 40. I want to throw a 40-yard pass. Let me throw a 40-yard pass. It's like, dude, they want you to throw a 40-yard pass. Don't throw the 40-yard pass. Just pick them apart underneath. So he was kind of able to control himself a little bit. Let a couple fly. One of them connected with Devonte. 2 of them, again, should have been touchdowns, but he overthrew them. So he kind of made at least good decisions when he did it and when not to do it. But otherwise, a lot of short passes, but it was effective. And again, 22 of 27 is fantastic, and 4 touchdowns is incredible. Aaron Jones, 17 carries, 67 yards, 3.9 average. It is a little upsetting that they're playing pass and we are still struggling to kind of run the ball. 3.9 average. A.J. Dillon, 3.6 average, 5 carries, 18 yards. Kylan Hill, 2 carries, 8 yards, 4-yard average. I do feel like we should be able to do it. It was fine. But if you're going to dare us to run, and we're supposed to be a team that runs the ball well, I feel like we should run the ball better than that. Just a thought, you know what I mean? I mean, we should be a good enough offense to where if you're basically daring us to do something, you're going to regret it, right? If you're going to dare us to pass, we're going to embarrass you. If you dare us to run, we're going to embarrass you. And I don't know that the offensive line has fully hit its stride yet to where they're just kind of bullying people, but I'm optimistic. Devonte Adams obviously dominated, 8 receptions, 121 yards, no touchdowns, but who cares? Tunyon had a great day, only 3 receptions, but 52 yards and a touchdown. And I thought he looked really good, not just because, a lot of it last year I was skeptical because he was kind of schemed open on a lot of stuff. I mean, he's wide open, he goes for a touchdown. Some of this, that one play where he juked the guy out of his shoes, he looked like Devonte Adams, and he gets a couple extra yards. I really liked his usage in this game. And that fake, by the way, was one of the prettiest fakes I've seen. He was blocking real hard. He looks back, and as soon as he sees Aaron Rodgers' head turn his direction, he knows it's time to disengage. He throws the guy and goes running out and gets himself open. It might have even been the same play where he juked the guy. That was such a beautiful play because he was engaged real hard. I mean, some of these guys, when they're running those fakes, you kind of pop them, and you're like, oh, no, don't get past me. And then the guy goes too quick, and the timing's all off. He was blocking real hard. He actually did a fantastic job blocking. Kind of peeked back to wait for Aaron Rodgers to turn his head, and then, again, he throws the guy. I loved that. Aaron Jones, 6 receptions, 48 yards, and 3 touchdowns. What a freak. Randall Cobb, 3 receptions, 26 yards. A.J. Dillon had 1 beautiful toe-tapping catch on the sideline for 8 yards. MVS, 4 targets, 0 receptions. Equanimous, 1 target, 1 reception, 0 yards. So is what it is on that. Devondre Campbell with a pick and a pass deflection, or maybe that's the same thing. I don't exactly, probably the same thing. Kevin King had a pass deflection. On here, it's crediting Eric Stokes with 2 pass deflections. I don't know. We'll see what PFF says. Devondre Campbell, 10 tackles, 3 assists, so 13 tackles he was in on. Amos was in on 9. Kenny Clark was next with 4, so a massive drop-off. Those 2 guys were all over the place, but especially, again, Devondre just absolutely killing it. Nobody credited with a sack. I guess it wasn't really a sack. I don't know. 0 tackles for a loss. So, again, that defensive line, it did pick up, but nothing super concrete. Mason Crosby was 5 of 5 on extra points, so that's cool. Bojorquez, 3 punts, 46.7 average. Two of the three inside the 20. His longest was 56 yards, which is pretty good. Kylan Hill, 2 returns, 30-yard average. Amari Rodgers, 1 return, 2 yards. Congratulations on that one. So there are your statistics. What does it say for? Let me look at this real quick. Aaron Jones became the first running back in Packers history with 3+ receiving touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown in a single game. Pretty cool. Aaron Rodgers is 7-0 following a loss under head coach Matt LaFleur since 2019. Rodgers has 4+ passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions in the next game after each of his last 5 losses. The Packers are 15-2 at home under head coach Matt LaFleur, which is the highest win percentage in the NFL. The Packers are 12-1 versus the NFC North under head coach Matt LaFleur. Their only loss Week 8, 2020 against Minnesota. Aaron Rodgers tied Drew Brees, 27 for most games with 4+ passing touchdowns and a 125+ passer rating since 1950. Aaron Jones is the first player since at least 1950 with 4 scrimmage touchdowns in a single game versus the Lions. And then a bunch of negative. I love it when the Packers have all these positive stats and then the Lions have a bunch of negative ones, but anyways, that's enough. Where are we at with the comments? For as good as Rodgers looked, I worry he didn't follow the offense. Played Adams, Jones, stare down, won't work against better teams. Yeah, and again, I thought he looked just flat out bad to start the game and slowly started to get into his rhythm. And the big thing with the rhythm was just the passing looked tighter. You know what I mean? It was where it needed to be again, and not necessarily for those big-time throws outside of Devonte. The MVS passes were bad, but some of those other ones were right on point, and that was what I liked about it. Still, again, the rhythm didn't quite seem there. You know, every time he tried to throw down the field, for the most part, it ended up being a sack. He's holding it, he's looking. It's like he doesn't know where to look. He tries to spin out and spins right into somebody's face, and it just goes terribly wrong. One could say we won because he golfed it up. You could, if you felt like doing something like that. Rodgers looked to take more of what the D was giving him. Need to continue what we're going to. Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what it is right now. The defense smells blood in the water. They're looking at it and saying, if we do this, you can't do anything. And so you got to get them to back off of that, right? You got to get them to play a little bit more balanced defense. And that's where, again, we've got to be able to play underneath and we got to be able to attack with the run. And we did. Now, maybe against the 49ers and the Steelers and whatnot, they're going to say, best of luck because, you know, I'm not the Lions. We're much better than that. And they're going to do the same thing and we're going to struggle. Or we're going to be able to do these things effectively. It's one or the other. Tony says Stokes is better than King. I think we all mostly agree. JB says Madtown. So now he's excited about Madtown. He's excited about everything tonight. Great win tonight. Start Stokes already, says Mike. What does that matter? I don't know. That wasn't me. I was reading the next comment. Says, what does that matter? Wish we could get MVS going a little bit. We should have. I mean, again, he had 2 touchdowns in this game that just got completely missed. I think he's gone down the sideline for scores in those games if Aaron Rodgers threw better balls. We don't win without Rodgers, Broder's wife's mother-in-law's husband's son's fiance. Yeah, man. Niners defense is pretty stout. Does this require Dillon and Jones in the backfield more to nullify the pass rush? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the game, so I don't really. I hope not. I hope we're just able to run the ball effectively, and then we don't really have to worry too much about all that. Rain is the defensive player of the game. Yeah, I know. I heard it. It's a funny joke. Crystal said, oh, I already read that. Maybe that's why, because some of these are older comments that I already read. Let's skip ahead a little bit. Man, I hate when it does that. It shows me all the repeated comments. The wide receiver screen to Equinemius was weird. Why wasn't it Amari? Stokes fired me up, though, and the defense felt like it changed when it was on the field. I don't know. Amari's just not the guy right now. It is a little weird that we just brought up EQ. Not that he was on the practice squad, but they activated him. And you're right. They just immediately, they're like, let's let EQ run that role. But I guess it wasn't Randall Cobb either, so it's not like he's stealing that role necessarily. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously not impressing as much as we had hoped. He's not really getting on the field at all. Again, the same stupid comments. I already saw these from 10 years ago. More playing for TJ, please. Who is TJ? Oh, Slayton. Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that TJ's done that fantastic of a job, but if he does, then hopefully he plays more. What's your offensive strategy for the Niners defense? I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet. I'm not worried about it. I got to figure out who they got. I mean, the biggest thing is Bosa, right? I mean, he's the one that wrecked us last time. If you can contain Bosa a little bit, which is not going to be easy, then the rest of it is not. I don't know. I think people overplay the dominance of the 49ers defense, and I'm not saying they're bad, but I mean, when have they? What has been their? Let's look at it. 49ers. I'm just curious now. Because I feel like everyone thinks that they're like the best defense in football. They ranked 17th last year. So I don't know that this is quite as good as everybody really thinks they are. They were 28th 2 years before that. Everybody thinks the 49ers are the 2019 49ers. Since Kyle Shanahan got there, they were 6-10 with the 25th ranked defense, 4-12 with the 28th ranked defense. Then in 2019, they went 13-3. They were the 8th ranked defense. And then in 2020, 6-10 with the 17th ranked defense. They've been bottom half defense, bottom half team every single year, and not just their quarterback, their defense also every single year. And right now they're 10th on defense, but they played the Lions and the Eagles. So, I don't know. I mean, they have good players, but it doesn't have to be a slaughter. I'm just more concerned about the fact that, we got to worry about the going out to San Francisco and playing over there and showing up with no energy and trying to stop a creative offense with a defense that doesn't exactly know what it's doing. And when things spiral out of control, it's usually that our offense can't block for Aaron Rodgers and Bosa is going to light us up. It's not because their defense from head to toe is the most dominant defense in the world. It just isn't. Again, 2019 was the one year that they were quite good on defense, and even then they were 8th. They were barely top 10. Again, the Rams were number 1 last year, and we steamrolled them. So it's not just a matter of all that stuff. They can figure that out. They don't have the most dominant corners and safeties and everything else. They got a really good linebacker. They got a really good pass rusher and a couple other pieces here and there, but, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers looked great. 140.5 QBR. Great game at home. Nice. I didn't see that stat, but that's obviously great to see. Good little bounce back. Again, it certainly wasn't perfect. Most of those are little dink and dunk throws. But again, that's what they were giving us, so that's what we took. Jason says, thanks for the baby oil and mustard visual. Nightmares tonight. Sorry about that. Jesse Gonzalez wasn't watching the game during the pick by Campbell. When I saw that happen on my phone, I thought the app made a mistake and gave an interception to Dan Campbell. That would be that'd mess with your mind. On a $5 bet, I was a D Swift touchdown short of winning $450. Oh, well. By the way, when I did my stream earlier, we were talking about prop bets and just like fun little things, and maybe how as a group we can kind of do some fun stuff and, whatever, just have some fun coming up with weird little bets. Apparently one of the guys watching the stream, what did he bet? He bet something like a $5 bet that Quintez Cephas would get the first touchdown and won $350. So I won somebody $350. I'm taking full credit for that. Stupid bet, but that's what prop bets are. Stupid bets that if they actually happen, you make a lot of money, and he did. Did Slayton play at all? Drives me crazy. He isn't on the field with Clark. I don't know. I didn't notice him. I'll be able to get more information tomorrow. So the podcast may be a little bit late. I don't know when PFF is going to be able to get all that information out. It's just one game, so I'm thinking it'll be relatively early, but it'll probably be like 8-ish tomorrow, 7-ish, 8-ish, and I probably should get the podcast started before that, but we'll see how it goes. I'll be able to get you that information and snap counts and all that stuff tomorrow. If you haven't seen or listened to the Packernet podcast, by the way, YouTube folks, be sure to do that. Packernet podcast, 7 days a week, except days when I don't feel like doing it. Talk about the Packers and stuff. Matt just said in the interview he told Joe to push the pressure because it wasn't working. That makes me so mad. It really does. Because that's what happened with Pettin. We had Matt LaFleur telling Pettin what to do all the time because Pettin was just not doing obvious things, and Matt's had to come in and be like, dude, you got to do this. And he's like, okay. And then he did it. Our head coach should not have to be the defensive coordinator, especially an offensive-minded head coach, right? That should not happen. So, again, we'll see how the defense goes, but this is starting to feel like we went from really bad Dom Capers to Pettin. Now we're at Pettin level, which, whatever. We'll see how it goes, but that's got to stop. I mean, and again, on obvious stuff, I hate when people try to act like I could be a coach, and I'm so much smarter than a coach, and I should do this and I should do that, and I try to not do that as often as possible. But some of this stuff is so painfully obvious. You know what I mean? You got a quarterback standing in the pocket for 5 seconds at a time. We're just bringing 3-4-man rushes every single play. Again, without trying to sound like I'm a Mr. Know-It-all, how flippin' hard is it to simply figure out that maybe we should send somebody, make him move off his spot a little bit, send a corner, send a linebacker, send a safety, do something, bring some pressure. And sure enough, they did. And they scored 0 points in the second half. But of course, it was our head coach that had to tell our defensive coordinator because our defensive coordinator couldn't figure that out on his own, apparently. Oh, splashed myself right in the face. It's frustrating, though. If I'm a realist, we're getting our cheeks clapped by the 49ers. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just think they're overrated. I do. I don't get it. I mean, they allowed the Lions to come back, score 30-some-odd points, and they nearly lost to the Eagles. So, I mean, look, I'm worried about the Packers going out to San Francisco and playing like garbage. I'm not worried that the 49ers are some dominant team. They've been dominant once in 5 years. Every other year, they've been trash. So am I worried about going out to San Francisco? Yeah. Am I worried because the San Francisco 49ers are some powerhouse? Absolutely not. No. They're just not. I don't know. I just don't like the love for San Francisco. And I'm not saying you're giving them that. Maybe that's all you're saying is that it's going to be tough because it's San Francisco and the Packers aren't going to show up because we have to travel out there. That's reasonable. I don't know. I'm not buying their super dominant nonsense. Will the pass rush improve week 3? I hope so, because I'm hoping that Matt LaFleur goes up to Joe Barry and says, from now on, pressure has to be there. If you want to bring 4, that's fine. You have roughly a half a quarter to generate pressure before I require you to send other people and generate that pressure. And again, once you saw it, it snowballed. It started to pick up over and over and over again. And you start to get those, more third and long situations because you brought somebody on second and that caused an incomplete pass. And instead of 3rd and 1, now we're dealing with 3rd and 10. And so now we can send the pressure. Now we can pin their ears back, and that also helps bring pressure. I don't know, man. Ed says overhyped the 49ers. Do you Packers trade Aaron Rodgers after the season? I don't know. Packers said they don't want to. Aaron Rodgers says he doesn't want to be there. We'll see. We'll see if Aaron Rodgers is happy enough to stay. We'll see if the Packers are honest when they said they wanted to hang on to the guy. I do think, to be completely honest, and I know some people are going to think this is too negative, but I think Aaron Rodgers has to play better than this because even though Love maybe isn't quite ready, what we've seen through 2 weeks is pretty standard quarterback play. And maybe that's a little bit harsh, but, Jordan Love can miss MVS down the field. Jordan Love can dink and dunk 5-yard passes to teams that are, playing too high. I mean, there's really nothing outside of that one really good play to Devonte, maybe threading the needle to Tunyon. But again, I mean, what are we going to pretend Jordan Love sucks at quarterback and can't do anything? Outside of those two things, this was a very simplistic quarterback outing. And there's always checks and things like that and changing plays and all that kind of stuff. But point is, when you look at the full contract, when you look at the age and the massive nature of Aaron Rodgers' contract, the only reason you beg a guy like that to stay is if he plays like he played in 2020. If this is what Aaron Rodgers is for the rest of the year, I think the Packers are like, oh, no, please don't go. Oh, you want to? Okay, all right, bye. It's just what it is, If he wants the Packers to beg, he's going to have to play better than what we've seen the last 2 weeks. Let's finish this on a positive, says Jason. Great game, nice defensive recovery. Let's keep it rolling. Go, Pack, go. That is my final. Oh, it's not my final question. I was going to say that is a great place to What were Cobb's stats tonight? All right. I guess we won't end on that note. I did read it. We'll read that again. Randall Cobb, I think he had 3 receptions for something or another. Randall Cobb, 3 for 26. So there you go. Anyways, I do have to get going. I want to go to bed. It's 11:20. I need to get some sleep. Again, be sure to check out the Packernet podcast. Daniel, thank you for liking the stream. Packernet podcast tomorrow. I'll be hopefully going in more in depth on some of the stats and specifics and things. A little bit of time to marinate on a couple different items and whatnot. But I will talk to you all.